Hello, everyone, once again to another installment of Q the A podcast, where we question the answers as well as answer the questions of things that we may or may not have once questioned or answered or not. I am your host. I am one of your two hosts, Eon K. Grissom.
And this is Dookie Royale.
Dookie Royale, as always.
As always, yes.
All right, guys and girls, this week we're going to talk about the Men in Black.
Mysterious Men in Black.
So mysterious, as well as a very popular Hollywood movie.
Yeah, it was just weird. Like, why did they just come out with the Men in Black? Because they were so like not popular, the Men in Black. But yeah, they came out with a movie. I guess it was just like, a subject that was kind of cool, kind of like lawyers,
or as the a lot
detectives.
of a lot of your popular conspiracy theorists will often say, is that Hollywood, of course, is run by the Illuminati.
That's what I'm saying.
And they like to promote. They like to put things out in what they like to hide things in plain sight, right in front of your face, and tell you the complete truth, and you'll just write it off as fantasy or fiction. And then anyone who really believes it's going to be crazy because it's just a Hollywood movie.
Well, Alex Jones says that they feel bad for pulling these things off on us, and so they just want to put it out there so they don't feel so bad about it.
or they're mocking us.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we're such dumb sheep that we'll do.
Right. Yeah, they're like, you're so dumb, we can just put it right in front of your face and we can tell it to you, and you don't believe it. Much like a lot of the ancient alien theories, ancient Sumeria, various ancient mythologies from around the world, where they just straight up tell you, hey, we were visited by aliens and they taught us stuff, and we documented it for you, and everybody writes it off as mythology, even though all the stories are amazingly similar. But the Men in Black. So the Men in Black is an interesting idea. The first, I think in 1962, there was a nonfiction book called The Flying Saucers and the Three Men. And it was a very influential book amongst ufologists in the 1950s and 60s. And it basically, in the book, there was it talked about these infamous Men in Black. And that began almost the mythology of this idea, or modern folklore, or what they call folk truth, when something is believed to be possibly true. But the idea is basically, and it's always associated with UFOs or aliens, is that if you witness a flying saucer, or an alien, a UFO, have some kind of encounter of some sort, sometimes you go tell people about it, other times you keep it to yourself. Within that day or within a couple days, these 2 or 3 men who are very strange will show up, and they'll often be very hostile. They'll be asking you questions about it, and they might even threaten you and try to get you to not talk about your experience.
Right. From the stories I heard, most of the time, like a high percentage of them, they'll be in black dress with their shades and their black hats.
Yep. They look like Secret Service agents, basically, but they'll often have hats on if they're outside.
Right. Little sidebar, Eon. I need you to do your toolbox and turn it off and then turn it back on. Your lower third. There you go. Okay, your name was wrong for a minute.
Oh, goodness. Hey, so what is Eon K. Grissom drinking this week? This week I'm drinking.
Must know.
Yeah, so I've been drinking some pretty kind of common global imported beers for the most part. This week, actually, I drove down the street to a local brewery called the Burnt Hickory Brewery outside of Atlanta here. Very small operation. I got the little brewery tour and saw they're not small tanks. They're pretty large tanks, but it's still a microbrewery for most discussion. But this is called the Cannon Dragger Indian Pale Ale. It's got 8% alcohol. This is the larger, I think 22-ounce bottle here. I also picked up a graham cracker stout from them. I went to a taste testing yesterday, which pretty much because of that, was unable to do the show because I was, had a few beers. Wouldn't be able to focus so well. But then I bought some beers direct from them, and were probably half the price that they sell them at the local liquor stores for. So I think I'm going to start stopping by there and purchasing my local brews from time to time. Anyway, this one's good. It's an Indian Pale Ale. Indian Pale Ale is not my favorite flavor, but a lot of people love it. And I definitely like this one better than a lot that I've had. It's definitely got that kind of hoppy, richness, almost a sweet, kind of a fruity character to it, but not really. If you're into Indian Pale Ales, you know what I'm talking about, though. But yeah, it's pretty tasty. Let me take a nice, refreshing sip.
Sounds like it's a pretty nice one. I'd be a fan.
Absolutely. Very refreshing.
Beer.
That's right. So, okay, so the Men in Black. Now, they're often said to, they refer to each other by numbers as opposed to a name, which is very interesting. Kind of reminds me of 007, James Bond.
What number would you be if you were a Men in Black number?
I'd be number 411.
I'd be number 3.
Number 3.
So,
42 would be a good one as well.
I mean, it's a prime number,
Yeah, I like the even numbers better myself generally. Although I guess 411 is not a prime. It's close. They've been said to sometimes not have hair, completely hairless, including their eyebrows, eyelashes.
Yep.
They're often described as being like identical in height. They almost look like twins. If they take their glasses off, they have these like their eyes are like huge, like bug-eyed looking, like they look weird. They don't look necessarily human, almost like they're some kind of shapeshifter that's shifted into human form, or they're somehow like wearing a suit. There's some kind of other entity that's inside of a suit that appears human. It's very awkward.
It's almost like the movie Men in Black, where they have the guy that like the alien crashes into this farm, or the UFO crashes into the farm, and like they kill the farmer. The aliens kill the farmer, and they just like take over his meat suit, basically. Like the alien takes over his meat suit and walks around and starts terrorizing people. It's almost like that's exactly what they are. They're just like aliens inside a host body. And
also in the Tim Burton movie Men in Black, the similar thing happens where some alien wears like a human suit and it's walking around trying to be like this sexy woman. And it's just really awkward and weird looking.
Right. Yeah.
And of course they don't communicate well. These Men in Black are often very, very hostile.
Yeah.
I haven't heard any direct reports of them getting like physically violent, but they're definitely intimidating and hostile. And,
I wonder. That's one of the theories. One of the theories is that they're not real, like they're just projections, or
they're from some other dimension being projected.
Yeah, and they don't shake hands, they don't get violent, they don't fist bump. There's no physical interaction ever.
Although in that one video, no, they don't open the door in that video, do they? I think the doors are automatic.
In one story I read, a guy said one of the Men in Black was talking to another person. Was talking to this guy, like I might read that story, and he says my energy is low, I must go. Like he's a robot or something.
Oh, weird.
So he had to get out of there. And
very strange. Now, it's also said that some people feel that when they've interacted with these Men in Black face to face, that they can read their mind. Or I'm sorry, the Men in Black can read the person's mind. It's almost like they're asking them questions, but they already know what they're thinking.
Yeah.
And just also, some people say, well, I saw a UFO, I didn't tell anybody about it, and all of a sudden the Men in Black showed up soon after. So it's like they knew your thoughts, they knew what you were perceiving. Obviously, this could definitely tie in with people that are like straight up paranoid and delusional. And they hear a story like this and they just start going wild because, I'm not paranoid or delusional, I don't think. And, it's plenty interesting to me. I ponder it. So if I was crazy and paranoid, I'm sure I'd be obsessing over these guys, thinking that they're tapping your phone lines. It's like basically like the CIA on steroids.
Yeah.
It's like the secret government police that maybe the president doesn't even know about. Or like you said, they're a projection from some other dimension, which is of course getting a little far out there.
A lot of UFO experiencers say that the gray aliens are not they're not entities of their own. They are controlled from another, like a mothership.
Yep.
They're robots on their own. They're projections. They're projections of the mind. Maybe the eye sees something that's not really there.
Oh, okay.
So Men in Black could just be that in a different form.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not hard to believe, if they are just human, that there are aspects of the government that are so secret that even the president doesn't know about. Which isn't hard to believe when you think some people, including myself some days, think that maybe the president's really not the president. Maybe he's just a hired actor. He's a puppet. There's the real people who run the country are just completely behind the scenes, and they have all the power, but nobody knows who they are, and that's the way it's going to be.
A possible explanation for the Men in Black not having hair is that they're from underground. And
right.
A lot of people, the UFOs, actually, the existence of UFOs has kind of switched gears a little bit over the past few years, to where a lot of people think that the UFO phenomenon, they're from under our Earth, like the hollow Earth theory.
And maybe they are, because there's supposed to be possible government bases under there as well.
Yeah, they use our planet as the host to go out and do whatever they do across the universe. So
it's very true. It kind of reminds me of Walt Disney World, how it's all like 10 feet above the ground, and there's a whole secret underground tunnel system under there where they come to work and leave work, and other dressing rooms and training rooms, and you never get a glimpse of that up there on top of the, up on the quote unquote real world. It's all hidden. Now, there's been some interesting stories about these Men in Black, who are often called the guardians of alien secrets. And that's not people trying to sneak in from Mexico. We're talking freaking extraterrestrials. So go ahead, and we both have a couple stories lined up about these Men in Black.
Yes. So the first story I want to read is just a strange story about an angry man in black that just appeared to a guy, a professor. It's titled "The Angry Men in MIB," and I'll put the link in the description so you can read it for yourself if you don't get the whole story. But a professor of folklore named Peter Reuschwitz told of an experience that occurred one night in a college library when he was reading a book on UFOs that had been recommended to him by a colleague. He was just relaxing in a chair reading this book when he noticed what appeared to be a leg and a shoe out of the corner of his eye. Before he knew it, this man was sitting in a chair in front of him. The man immediately asked Reuschwitz about the book he was reading and questioned him on whether he had seen UFOs or was at all interested in the phenomenon. So at this point, this guy hasn't even seen a UFO. He just picked the book off the shelf that his friend told him to, sits down, and this guy comes and harasses and starts talking to him. When a professor stated that he wasn't really that interested in the subject to begin with, and was only reading the book to satisfy the suggestion of a colleague, the man became enraged and angrily asked him how he could not be interested in the most important facts of the century. Seemingly satisfied that the professor was not going to dig into the world of UFOs, the man left, but not before telling the professor to go well on his purpose.
Ooh.
Which is kind of like alien speak or robot speak, However, while it seems like this would be the end of it, it's here that the story takes another turn for extra creepy. After the encounter, Reuschwitz got up to walk around the library. However, no librarians were anywhere to be seen. The same went for the guards and all the patrons. In fact, as far as he could tell, the library was completely deserted and closed, except for him. The professor returned to his chair in an attempt to gather his wits. In about an hour, according to the professor, he decided to get up and look around again. And at this time, he found everything was back how it should be. End of the story. So that's a really cool story. He gets up, nobody's so. I don't know if I'd freak out or not that nobody was around, or maybe I was just like look, maybe everybody's at bathroom break or something. Or it depends on how busy the library was,
That's always creepy, though, man. When everybody just disappears, it's just you and that's kind of an interesting. I mean, you've seen that in various movies where that happens.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Like a ghost movie.
Yeah, so all he did was thought about reading a book about UFOs, and all of a sudden he's like getting questioned and confronted by this man in black.
Yeah, a guy just shows up.
Which is weird because it says they usually show up in a group of 2 or 3, but in that case it was a single man in black.
Yeah, and this story didn't say that he was in black even. You know, it didn't say he was but it's a interesting man, basically. It didn't describe him as all in black, you know, like all the other stories that we read.
Okay. Interesting. But it's definitely got some elements to it that kind of line up with the standard stories, because here's another one. So in 1964, this guy named Jim Templeton, who's a British guy, he reported an encounter. Well, what he did was he took a picture of his daughter, and they were out in this field or whatever, and he took 3 pictures of her with an old school Kodak camera. And in the second of the 3 pictures, what appears to be standing behind his daughter is like this person in a spacesuit. They say it's like a spaceman. It's called the Solway Firth Spaceman. We're going to put it on our photo gallery here on facebook.com/QTheA podcast. But so he took this picture. He was completely baffled by this because he swears there was nobody there. There was nobody standing behind her in the field that it could have been. He reports it to the police, and then it gets to the news, and it becomes like a big news story. Shortly thereafter, he gets approached by 2 men who refer to themselves as numbers. So it's like, hey, 17, what do you think? I don't know, number 5, you know, which is very interesting. We should change our names to number names.
Yeah,
kind of cool.
Yeah, I'll be number 3, and you can be number 411.
Be 411. Yes, 3. I am 411. I give you the information. So let's see. So yeah, he asked them if they would give him ID, and they would not show him ID. But they said that they worked for His Majesty's government. And
yeah, I did. Yeah, right.
They also asked him where he saw the second spaceman. And he basically said, well, I didn't see a first spaceman. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, all I have is this weird picture that looks like there's a spaceman in there, but I didn't see any of them. So apparently these 2 guys, men in black, approach him. They want to know, what's up with this photo you got of the spaceman? Where's the other second spaceman that is a mystery? And then when he tells them he doesn't know anything about it, they won't give him their ID. Then they get hostile, whatever that means. So they're yelling at him, or they're getting pissy, you know, I don't know. But that's sort of the end of the story. Now this is an interesting photo. It's fairly famous. I had actually stumbled upon it when I was doing some research for our episode that we entitled Mysterious Circumstances. But it didn't make the cut. But it fits into this episode. So it's a weird one, you know. You got this thing. It looks like there's a freaking person back there standing in like a spacesuit. It actually looks like the Stig. And it's funny, my image searching I was doing, somebody else had already made a graphic with the Stig standing next to it. And that's like that sort of anonymous race car driver that appears on Top Gear, I guess, is all I know about it. I don't really watch that show.
Looks like a Michelin man too, with like a space helmet on.
Yeah, kind of like a thin Michelin man. Now, skeptics say that, well, that's the their wife was out there with him that day. They say that's the wife, and she's got her back turned to him, and she's it's like overexposure has made it appear white, and somehow like the light, the way it's bouncing off her hair, makes it look like the sort of the face guard with the helmet there. They say that the kind of camera he was using, there would have been like a blind spot, so he would have been taking pictures of his daughter and not necessarily noticing that. But what's weird is he did take 3 pictures in a row, and it's only in the second picture.
Right.
Now, Kodak, because it became so popular, they actually had Kodak reanalyze the original photo, and they verified it was totally a real photo. So whatever you're seeing was actually in the photo. Then you got people saying, oh, well, the camera obviously has the ability to capture things that are outside of like our perception range, outside of our frequency or something.
Yep.
And of course, other, skeptic type people are saying, well, that's ridiculous. That the same thing you hear with ghosts, right?
Yeah, I was just about to say
catching
that.
a ghost.
Catching a ghost.
And this has been said to possibly be a ghost as well. People think.
Yeah, but why would a ghost appear? And I mean, the just when I immediately saw that picture, I had questions like, why on earth would there be an alien in a spacesuit? Like aliens, if they've mastered the travel from planet to planet, would they still need a spacesuit, or do they need a spacesuit to be just to be on our planet? And like, why would it look like some general like Russian blow up doll
Yeah,
space station?
it is kind of a weird, and yeah, it's like you never really hear a story talked about this type of thing, and here's a picture of it. So
And
I
then
don't know.
again, the United States and the space programs around the world could be modeling, another planet's space program. Maybe we're in contact with another civilization, and they gave us the idea to do our spacesuits like that. Who knows? But
Yeah,
it's just weird that they have spacesuits.
it's like ancient astronauts. I mean, the cave drawings they do show astronauts, people, beings in
Right.
suits showing up.
You know what though? I watched just off topic a little bit. I watched one of the episodes where they're talking about like how humans and dinosaurs were together at one point, and they went to a Indian temple. I can't remember the name of the Indian, but it's pretty famous. But it has a picture of a Stegosaurus, and the first dinosaur wasn't even discovered till like the late 1800s. So,
Right.
How did these people have this 2,000-year-old monument with a Stegosaurus on it?
Huh, that's weird. Well, maybe they discovered it, or maybe they had some visions.
That's true, because we're quote unquote discovering the new world too, when there was already people living on it. Like, how can we even tell other people that we discovered the new world when there was already people living on it?
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, you can discover whatever you want, but it's already been there the whole time. So somebody could have stumbled upon it. There's only so much square footage of planet available for seeking. But no, yeah, you're right. We discovered it, and they're like, "What are you talking about? You came here. Like,
This
we're
is
here.
our house."
We don't even know how we got here. They had their own mythologies about how they got there. They've been there so freaking long.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, it's just all planet Earth drama.
It is weird to think that you're on a piece of land your entire life, because we can travel in planes and go to different continents, and you're on a globe spinning around in the middle of space, but you can only stay on this one little pocket of the land on the entire globe. Yet you know that it's a planet, because most of the ancients did know it was a planet. Maybe we can save this whole discussion for another podcast, but they did know that they were on a planet.
I'll tell you what, the men in black knew they were on a planet.
That's true.
They were. Okay, so, and of course we've touched on this story. Everybody, I think pretty much any of our listeners are going to know about the famous Roswell saucer crash, right?
Right. Everybody knows about Roswell.
What was that? 1947.
Yeah. If you don't know about Roswell, just go YouTube it and watch 30-minute show on it.
Now the Roswell, it was that night. Yeah, Roswell, New Mexico, 1947. Now 1947 is a big year. 1947, you have the saucer crash in Roswell. You have Gandhi liberating, the Indians. You also have Israel becoming a nation again after thousands of years of not being a nation. Mm-hmm. And you also have my father being born. So it's a big year. Hey, shout out to my dad.
Shout out to Burdith.
I doubt my dad's listening to the podcast, because that's pretty high tech to listen to podcasts. Although maybe I should give him the link.
It is funny. It is funny, like people that are just 7 or 8 years older than us right now, like just don't deal with the internet very well.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, it is weird, isn't it? Yeah, we're kind of getting to the older age of the tech savvy. We're not even youth anymore.
No.
Although old people tell me, like, shut up, you're young. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. Now, actually, while we're giving shout outs, I didn't mention this to you. My buddy that I used to work with a long time ago moved down to Tampa area. I think he's in St. Petersburg. So that's Andy and Kelly down there in Tampa area.
Shout out.
Give you a shout out. Apparently they've been listening to this podcast and they're fans, and they're into some cool stuff too, which would actually be some really cool topics in the future. Talking about ESP, and they've got some group where they're testing, like thinking of a shape or a thought, and you can read the other people's mind and stuff, try to transmit information psychically, telepathically to each other, as well as ghosts, a lot of paranormal stuff. One of the guys apparently gives ghost tours, and they're real big into that stuff.
Well, since we're doing shout outs, I'll just shout out to my sister Jennifer.
Shout out to Jennifer.
Watching us right now.
Jenny Royale.
And if any of you listeners happen to catch, we'll post links for the live event, 10 or 20 minutes before we do it. And but you don't have to look out for it if you don't want to. And we're kind of random on the days that we record. But if you happen to come across it, check us out and watch us.
Yeah, only if you have nothing better to do, though. Seriously.
Yes.
It is nice, I'd say, as a podcast form to be able to pause it and start again. I prefer that personally.
Correct.
But then again, I wouldn't watch myself live.
It's kind of like binge watching. If you want to binge watch our podcast,
go ahead, set yourself up a playlist, and
that's right.
and try to stay awake. So, 1947, Roswell, New Mexico. This freaking flying saucer apparently crashes in a farmer's field. He goes out. His story is, well, there's this crashed, flying saucer, and there's these alien bodies that are kind of like crawling out of this thing. Some are, I think one is dead and others barely alive. Pretty soon there, of course, I think he reports it to the local police, and pretty soon, of course, you got unmarked military vehicles zooming in. 1947, did they have helicopters? If they did, they were coming. But they all show up. They quickly clean up the whole wreckage. And from what I was told, the men in black showed up into town. Now, I went to Roswell, New Mexico, and camped out there, and I saw this field. And I talked to some locals whose, parents were around this very small town at this time. So everybody knew everybody. And apparently, some of these people who witnessed this alleged flying saucer, as well as these alien beings, were kind of taken away by the military. And they showed up a few days later. And when they showed up, they wouldn't talk to anybody. It's like they had been silenced for some reason, somehow. Maybe brainwashed, maybe scared, maybe threatened. But these men in black were there. They showed up. They were seen in these black suits with a black tie, white shirt, hats, white guy, usually over 6 feet tall.
That's pretty cool bit of information. So they've been there since the beginning, basically.
Yeah, that's 1947. This book that popularized it didn't come out till 62.
Gotcha.
But I think I even read something about, and I don't have it in my notes here, but it seems like I read something back in like the 30s about something that was written. It may be on the Wikipedia. There is a Wikipedia page about the Men in Black, and
what I saw, it was popularized in 1956 book. They knew too much about flying saucers.
Okay.
And that's where I heard that the Men in Black kind of story was put out to the mainstream.
Yeah. So it's been out for a while. Now, of course, in the movie The Matrix that we were actually referencing last week, Agent Smith and his goons, there usually 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
They are clearly the Men in Black, straight up. And they even have special powers. I mean, they're like supernatural almost. Obviously, they're part of the Matrix, so they have unlimited potential to program themselves however they want. But and they can shift in and out of. They can take over people's bodies, which is kind of cool. It kind of adds like a possession element, or like you were saying, like they're holograms. Of course, they're holograms. It's the freaking Matrix, right? Everything's a hologram there. But they can, they read your thoughts. They know what's going on. And then, of course, Neo is the only one who can save them all.
Red pill or the blue pill?
Agent Smith. Oh, yeah, and he totally took the red pill. As would any true seeker of truth. What else?
Roswell. That was a pretty cool black.
Yeah, Roswell's just a whole. I mean, that's almost like a whole episode we could do. But yeah, that's a pretty interesting Men in Black story. And I heard that from actual people who were in the town.
They show up in black helicopters or black cars. I heard one account. Where a guy was near a military base, just watching the skies. He had got some information that there was going to be some flight tests, so he went out to watch the skies. And the Men in Black came up in a black car. Mm-hmm. And his account was really cool because he was very descriptive. He could remember all the details, and he said that the car came up through a dust cloud, but when it stopped, there was not a single piece of dust on the entire car. And when he was talking to the Men in Black, and they were asking him why he was there, he said he could see his reflection in their shoes. So everything was like immaculate. Everything from their hat to their clothes to the car, everything was just perfect, like not dirty. The wheels, even on the car that they showed up in, weren't dirty.
Okay.
So it's more to that what we talked about earlier, that the Men in Black are a projection. They're kind of like a figment maybe they're placed in our mind. Maybe they don't even really exist, even though it looks like they're right in front of our face.
Ooh.
Talking to us like a real person.
So it's like a thought that's implanted into your mind, and then it's manifesting into your reality.
Correct. And even, this guy had a friend with him, and he described the same thing. So
almost sounds like it's like a computer virus that gets installed into your mind.
Yeah. Well, if we do genuinely live in the Matrix, they just program it to show up there.
Of course.
In that spot. But yeah, you would so that's like the programming didn't account for dirt to be on the car or the shoes or the it'd be kind of strange also if they paid attention to the footprints, if they made footprints in the sand and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. These the movie Jacob's Ladder, they're not Men in Black, but it kind of has some similar type of beings in it. They're more like demonic, but they're kind of after him. He's kind of being chased by these entities. Also, I was talking about Dark City last week. Dark City kind of has some Men in Black type entities as well in there. Yeah. And they kind of refer, they don't refer to each other as numbers, but it's kind of similar to that. Like they're all one mind. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, Men in Black, man.
So I guess they're all UFO related. Have you read a story yet where they're not UFO related?
No, not specifically talking about them being the Men in Black, which it's pretty much always in line with the movie Men in Black with Will Smith and what's the other gentleman's name?
I don't know.
Oh, sorry guys, Men in Black.
Will Smith did such a great job.
Search it right quick.
It was Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, Tommy Lee Jones, of course.
Yeah.
I need to go back and watch it. I should have watched it before we did this episode, but I'm going to go back and watch it again. I was really entertained by it because, they're basically like, they're nice, like happy Men in Black. They're not, they're not these sinister, weird, hairless shapeshifters like we were discussing. But of course, like some would say, well, that's Hollywood's way of, dumbing us down and tricking us and making us, be fans of evil or something. But
right.
Yeah, they're basically like hiding the truth from the public that the government knows about all these UFOs and has ways of like flashing that thing in front of your face to make you totally forget what has happened, what you've witnessed.
They use it, but they don't really want to use it, Eon.
Oh, they don't. Yeah, they don't really. They just have to, right?
They feel so bad for doing it. Yeah, I mean it's indescribable.
It was a really good movie, actually.
Yeah.
I need to go back. Like I said, I need to go back and watch it again. There's a second and a third one, and I've watched them all, and they're all very entertaining.
I have not watched 2 and 3.
Yeah, check them out. I mean,
yeah, sure.
Hollywood, definitely figures out some of these really cool, mysterious ideas that we talk about and has made some great movies about that stuff.
I listen to podcasts all the time, and they'll mention movies, and I'll be like, man, why haven't I not seen these movies yet?
No, totally. I hear it all the time. I usually try to follow up.
Yeah, I'm not a movie person at all. I just like.
Well, podcast. I mean,
documentaries.
From the Mark Maron podcast, I learned about so many things because he always has a different guest on every time, and they always talk about all kinds of stuff that they've done, stuff they've been involved in, stuff they like, and I just check it out. It's easy with music. It's on Spotify. You just search it, and there it is, or YouTube, of course. Movies, sometimes you got to dig for them or order them on Netflix or something.
Right.
Or, there's other ways to get your hands on videos these days.
So if anyone has a good movie suggestion, maybe from Men in Black, send us over an email at qtheapodcast@gmail.com.
Absolutely.
Sweet.
Send us just send us an email anytime about anything, guys. We'd like to hear from you. So another story was this lady, and she wouldn't give away her true name. But her name was, she said, let's call me Jane Doe. So her dad was allegedly, she says he was one of the Men in Black. And his job, he would go to different military bases and harass and threaten any soldiers who had reported seeing a UFO and get them to not talk about it. She told A lot of stories about her father seeing dead aliens as well as crashed UFOs as she grew up. Now he's dead now, and apparently when he died, he had instructed her mother to burn very specific documents and pictures that he had. So she had done that, and now all that's left is just the photos that of her dad, just wearing a military outfit and smiling. But she claims that her dad was really a Men in Black. Now there was this other story that happened might have been a year or two ago. There was this website called Mega Uploader, and what it was a website where I could just put up any file on there, and then I could send like Dookie Royale or whoever a link, and they could just click the link and download the file. It was a really cool service, and of course people would pay for this service. Kind of like Dropbox or something, but what people were doing was, of course, uploading like massive amounts of illegal pirated material, possibly, illegal pornography or whatever documents are illegal files. And
it's a pretty cool idea.
yeah, it's totally cool. And, from a business standpoint, he had people agree that they weren't going to do anything illegal. So he shouldn't really be in trouble because it's the users who are breaking the law, not the guy who runs the website. But either way, he kept having to change different countries that he was running the site from because, obviously the laws of that country would say, we're going to shut you down. So he'd move it. He ended up in New Zealand, where I guess the laws are pretty lax about copyright and whatever internet protocol. And he was pretty much getting away with it running this site. Oh, by the way, I forget his original name, but he actually legally changed his name to Kim.com. And in Kim.com, it sounds like he's an Asian guy, but he's actually this big fat white guy. I think he might be like Dutch or something. But so he had like this big palace because he was making a ton of money, and he had like a big gate up all around it, and inside he even had like a safe room to go hide in case the poop hit the fan, right? So that's what happened, man. All of a sudden one day, these black helicopters and black unmarked cars all show up there, and they bust through his gate, and they bust into the house, and they start taking down the servers. And of course, him and his entourage, they go into the safe room and lock themselves in. And it took him a few days to like cut them out of there. And they arrested him, and I don't know if he's still on trial or not. I hadn't been keeping up with the story, but it's an interesting story. The Kim.com mega uploader.
Yeah, super interesting.
Yeah, so it wasn't a UFO related story. It wasn't specifically the Men in Black, but this is an army very similar to the Men in Black. It's not like the US Army went in and did it. It's not like the Australian Army did it. It's just like some group of mercenaries that are like for hire, or some kind of secret elite, force that was just sent in there to make it happen. And it wasn't the New Zealand government or anything. I guess it was like the UN, or some would say it was the New World Order. The army of the New World Order, which if people are freaked out about the New World Order happening, apparently it's already happening. If you can get completely out of any country's jurisdiction and then still get busted, apparently there's, more going on to our laws and to the way the world operates than a lot of people are willing to think about. So that's the Kim.com mega uploader saga.
Now, we were talking about earlier about the lady whose dad was the Men in Black.
Yes, Jane Doe.
Jane Doe?
Yeah, well, that's a fake name, of course, but we'll call her Jane Doe.
It's a really good story. I mean, it shows pictures of the man, too. You can find those in the links below on this video. And he looks like a normal dude, but they have him his pictures are in normal situations. I would like to see like a picture of him maybe on a military base or in uniform, or something crazy in the background, just kind of validate it.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. All those documents were destroyed.
Yeah.
At his request. So, I mean, you're only left with stuff that has obviously no information, which is the way, which, of course, if she's going to make up a story, of course, that's a great alibi. Oh, well, they've all been destroyed.
Right.
My dad here's normal pictures of him. Here's what's left. But, I mean, I always liked like I said, James Bond, he's known as 007. So he's kind of got some Men in Black elements. He's Agent 007. He's got a license to kill, so he can legally murder whoever he decides has to be murdered. He breaks women's hearts on a daily basis. He he also often he looks like one of the Men in Black. I mean, he wears the black suit with the tie or I guess he's in a tuxedo a lot of the time, but that's very similar. I guess a lot of people, when they get married, they kind of look like they're in the Men in Black with their black tuxedo, or at the prom. Now, also, you see, there's also, I don't know if it's specific to the Men in Black, but there's also this sort of theme that sometimes they've got a briefcase and they're transporting some very important information.
Right.
Sometimes the briefcase is even like handcuffed to their arm to make sure that they don't lose track of it.
I have an explanation for that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I worked at IBM Corporation for 4 years in the 90s. And they would send people, they would have so they're the top technology company in the world, arguably. They have inventions that they still haven't even released to the public yet. For instance, when I was at IBM, they had a 110 gigahertz processor in a server.
Whoa!
And it's 110 gigahertz. Right now, we're at like, what, 5 to the public has?
Yeah, I guess. I don't even know if we're that much.
So they're running, they might even be supplying government with like these supercomputers that we don't even know about for their NSA data, computing stuff. But anyway, the IBM had a crew of people that basically sat in planes with briefcases handcuffed to themselves. And in the 90s, they had just released people from having to wear suits every day. So every employee that worked for IBM at one point had to wear black suits or gray suits or whatever.
Right.
But in the 90s, I think it was like 95 or 96, they went to business casual. So everybody didn't have to wear a suit anymore.
Nice.
Unless you were an executive or high level person.
Sure.
And so that would explain a lot of like the suited people, sitting in planes with briefcases, because they would be they're the highest security company. They would take hard drives and put them in briefcases. In fact, my dad was a police officer for Atlanta, and we have the biggest airport in the United States.
Yeah. And,
he would sometimes work down there when they had big events, a lot of people flying in, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And those kind of people would come through, they'd have to inspect those briefcases, but they wouldn't be allowed to. So they can only x-ray it. And it's against your constitutional rights if you have a locked, or at least at the time, if you have a locked briefcase that has a code on it, they can't. Yeah. They can only look inside with the X-ray. They can't open it and search it. And I think that's still. I'm not sure if that was abolished with 9/11 or not.
I'm thinking the Patriot Act, and the TSA.
Yeah, Patriot Act probably took care of that. But.
Yeah, I don't think you're getting on the plane unless they get there to get to see what's in there.
But it was just like a crew of people. I don't know how many it was, but I'm sure you could probably Google search that and find it out about those. And I'm sure other companies had the same thing, handcuff, super value. And there was hard drives, I know as a fact, as parts that were being sold to companies that were $60,000 and $80,000 each. So hard drives at the time were maybe $200 or $300, but these particular hard drives were super expensive. Mm-hmm. And maybe it was just customer data that they were transferring across the nation, or who knows what they were transferring in those briefcases.
Internet, what do they call it? IP, internet or intellectual property. It's very valuable.
Yeah.
People get really protective of their IP. Another thing we didn't mention is these Men in Black they're very reptilian. They have a very reptilian vibe to them. You know what I mean?
Are they reptilians all the way? They might be.
Yeah, that's a good question. Are they reptilians that have shapeshifted into this weird human form? There's definitely a lot of overlap and different elements in the whole sort of conspiracy theory, UFO, reptilian, stuff. It's not like there's just one story. It's all a bunch of interlinking stories oftentimes. And the Men in Black is just one element that we're focusing on here. But
so I have another story I can read off here that I found it was pretty interesting.
All right.
This is called Agents of the Dark. And you'll
Ooh.
also find that in the description below on this YouTube video or on our podcast
Okay.
notes. In September 1976, Dr. Herbert Hopkins, a 58-year-old doctor and hypnotist, was acting as consultant on an alleged UFO teleportation case in Maine, USA. One evening, when his wife and children had gone out, leaving him alone, the telephone rang, and a man identifying himself as vice president of the New Jersey UFO Research Organization asked if he might visit Mr. Dr. Hopkins that evening to discuss certain details of the case. Dr. Hopkins agreed. At the time, it seemed the natural thing to do. He went to the back door to switch on the light so that the visitor would be able to find his way from the parking lot. But while he was there, he noticed the man already climbing the porch steps. I saw no car. This is from Dr. Hopkins says, I saw no car, and even if he did have a car, he could not have possibly gotten to my house that quickly from any phone. Hopkins later commented in delayed astonishment. At the time, Dr. Hopkins felt no particular surprise as he admitted his visitor to the house. The man was dressed in a black suit with a black hat, tie, and shoes, and a white shirt. I thought he looks like an undertaker, Hopkins said later. His clothes were immaculate, suit unwrinkled, trousers sharply creased. When he took off his hat, he revealed himself to be completely hairless, not only bald, but without eyebrows or eyelashes. His skin was dead white, his lips bright red. In the course of their conversation, he happened to brush his lips with the gray suede gloves he had on, and the doctor was astonished to see that his lips were smeared and that the gloves were painted with lipstick.
Ooh.
It was only afterwards, however, that Dr. Hopkins reflected further on the strangeness of his visitor's appearance and behavior. Particularly odd was the fact that his visitor stated that his host had 2 coins in his pocket. It was indeed the case. He then asked the doctor to put one of the coins on his hand and to watch the coin, not himself. As Hopkins watched, the coin seemed to go out of focus and then gradually vanished. Neither you nor anyone else on this plane will ever see that coin again, the visitor told him. After talking a little while longer on general UFO topics, Dr. Hopkins suddenly noticed the visitor's speech was slowing down. The man then rose unsteadily to his feet and said very slowly, "My energy is running low. Must go now. Goodbye."
Ooh.
He walked falteringly to the door and descended the outside steps uncertainly, one at a time. Dr. Hopkins saw bright lights shining in the driveway, bluish white and distinctly brighter than the normal car lamp. At the time, however, he assumed it must be the stranger's car, although he never saw nor heard it. The end.
The end.
It's almost like HID headlights. I wonder when this was. It didn't say what year. Oh, 1976. September 1976. So they wouldn't have had HIDs back then.
Man. Sounds like, yeah, the guy was like running out of battery power or something.
Must go running.
I must leave. Close conduit.
Close conduit.
Close conduit. For our listeners, that's an inside joke. Close conduit.
It's from another podcast we did on.
Yep.
One of the aliens closed his sentence with that.
Some QVA trivia right there. So, all right. I mean, that's the Men in Black. That's
yeah. There's stories you can read about the Men in Black. There's
it's always the same story, though. Pretty much,
Yeah, there's a couple of shows. I think it was Alien Hunters or something like that. That was on. They have a really good Men in Black episode that I suggest people look up on YouTube. It describes the story I talked about earlier, where the dust cloud was coming towards the guy who was on the side of the military base.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really pretty cool story. They also, on that particular episode, they were standing there talking about UFOs. 2 black helicopters flew over them while they were talking about the guy's telling a story about how this dust cloud comes to him. And then they're like, "Are those black helicopters coming up?" And they film them as they fly over them.
Oh, that's weird.
And they're just what people would describe as black helicopters on their UFO experiences, or they're not marked. They're completely closed off. They have no windows. They have the double blades, so there's one spinning on the top on the front and one spinning in the back. So they're like, it's like held up by two spinning blades instead of the usual helicopter you see with one spinning blade.
Right.
So they fly off into the distance, and he continues telling a story. And one of the guys interviewing him says, "Hey, look, there's a car over there, and it's a white car in this instance, but a guy gets out dressed all in black and goes from passenger side to the driver's side and gets in the car and then backs it up so the camera can't see it. But they're so far away from this car, I'm wondering how they knew what the camera angle was so that they could pull behind this boulder, because it looked like from the camera angle they could have just moved. They could have like walked down 100 feet and seen the car again if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So I suggest everyone look at that. That was a really good episode, and I think I found that on YouTube. So just search Men in Black, because you're not going to be able to find it by the title of the show.
We're gonna post some links on the Facebook fan page.
Yeah, I'll go and find that and put that in the link description below.
Yeah. So I had this weird dream one time.
Yeah.
And it was when I was doing a lot of UFO research. Sort of like I was like kind of like wrapped up into like the UFO conspiracy / Illuminati / reptilian, just all that realm of, thought and discussion. Doing a lot of internet research, you know what I mean?
Right.
Going down the rabbit hole. And this is probably 7 years ago. And so one night I had this dream. It was really weird. It was one of those dreams that's totally realistic, or it seems real at the time. And I like entered the ground floor level like lobby of this big skyscraper, and I had this briefcase that I was carrying, and I don't think it was like handcuffed to my hand, but I had it, and it was very important information, and I had to deliver it to the guys up at the top floor, like the most important, powerful people or whatever. I was like the messenger of this information. And the lobby was really crowded with people. What's weird about it is it was so realistic. It was like so familiar. Like it really happened. Like almost like it's like a past life or something. I don't know. It's very, very familiar to me, even though I don't think I've ever been there in this life that I can remember. Because I can remember very detailed, like the tile floor, like the style of the building. It kind of looked like a 1920s, kind of 30s, like New York skyscraper, which I've never even been to New York. But as I was walking through the lobby trying to make my way to the elevator, this like little tiny man, it's really hard to explain. It's like almost like a child, but he was a grown man, like just sprints by me and steals my my briefcase. And I start panicking because I realize how bad this is to lose this really important briefcase I'm supposed to be delivering. So I start panicking and I start frantically chasing or running around trying to find him, try to track down this briefcase. And I ended up like somehow finding him, like hiding with the briefcase under a desk. You know how like on a desk where your knees slide in, you can go in there and like hide.
Sure.
Well, I found him inside of there with the briefcase. And when I found the guy, though, he was like all freaked out, like super panicked, almost like afraid for his life for some reason. And I was just like, "What's going on, man? Like, why are you so afraid? Give me the briefcase." And he looked like he was afraid for me. He's like, "Man, you don't want to mess with these guys, man. You don't want to know who they are. You don't want to know how they operate. You need to." He's like, "You're better off to just get away. Get away while you still can. Stop trying to figure them out, man. They know what you're doing. They know you're onto them. Just back off." And that was actually kind of like where I woke up, and I was like all freaked out because it was so realistic. So like somehow these like, I don't know, like somehow I was delivering this briefcase. I was working for these powerful people or something. And I don't know, like the dream gave me the realization that like I kind of had to chill out from my research because I got kind of paranoid. I thought, oh my gosh, like, either they are onto me and my subconscious is warning me through this dream, or somehow they are transmitting this information to me through my dream, which is, of course, what a paranoid person would think. But I try to listen to my dreams and act accordingly to what they're trying to teach me. Or it's not my dream trying to teach me. It's my true like inner subconscious self trying to communicate something to me. But anyway, it wasn't specifically the Men in Black. The guy that I chased and found and got the briefcase from, he was definitely not the Men in Black. He was, of course, scared of them. But it was definitely the same vibe that you get from these Men in Black. These very like hostile, very inhuman, kind of reptilian-ish beings that are trying to keep information secret.
Of course, when someone tells you you don't want to know what these people do, you want to know all about them.
Then you want to know all about them. And then, of course, now 7 years later, I'm doing a podcast
about
it. So if Dookie and Royale and myself disappear here,
hey, I'm just telling you, in Men in Black, come and visit me. I want to see who you are.
Oh, you want to see them?
I want to know what your number is.
I want to document them.
I got your number, Men in Black, and it's number 3.
Men in Black. Will Smith's going to come to your house.
That's right. Oh, you know what story we didn't get into?
What's that?
The hotel footage of the Men in Black.
Oh, yeah. How did we miss that?
That was like the most important one.
Yeah, that's like what started the whole thing. Okay. Yeah, so there's this hotel footage. And I forget his name. It's not really relevant.
No.
Hopefully he's not listening because then he'll be like, what the heck? I'm relevant. But he's like a hotel manager, and I forget which town it was, but he sees like this Des Moines, Iowa. He sees this triangular shaped UFO at night.
Sorry, that was Niagara Falls, Ontario.
Okay. It could be anywhere really, but he sees this triangular shaped UFO hovering over the town and stares at it for a while, and it's a standard UFO sighting. But he then, the next day, he definitely hadn't reported it to the authorities. He might have told somebody about it, but either way, he hadn't really told anybody. Nobody important, at least. And I think like the next day he wasn't at work, and then there's this video footage where these two guys that are like the same height, they're both over 6 feet tall, complete Men in Black description. They walk in. Apparently they walk up to the counter. They ask for the guys specifically by name. They say he's not here today. And then these men start getting very hostile, very angry. They were said to, they didn't have glasses on, actually. They said that their eyes were like super like bug-eyed, like super bright blue eyes.
And larger than normal, yeah.
The eyes were larger than normal. They could feel like they could read their mind. They didn't have any hair, no eyelashes, no eyebrows. Obviously no hair on their head. They were wearing the hats. And they were referring to each other by number, asked a lot of questions, and then they just storm out. There's no video of them leaving, though, which is weird. But what is weird is while they're coming in, you see a kid walking out of the hotel, and the kid, these guys are so weird looking. You see the kid like kind of notice them and stop and look back at them like, what the heck, as they walk by him.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting that a kid noticed that. Yeah.
What's very interesting about it is that there's a number of people at the hotel that have the account. Like they verify the account.
There's multiple people.
Like these were people. Like the front desk clerk, the person that was on manager on duty that day. The guy. There's you can see in the video. There's a busboy type of person that might be accessing keys for guests, and he saw them. So I mean, and the surveillance footage it's not HD or anything. I mean, if it came from 2008 or something like that. So the video is not clear, and it's typical like hotel video.
Yeah, typical.
Yeah. It looks pretty crazy. They're both the same size. They're both wearing the exact same thing, and you can tell that. Like the tie, the suit, the shirt, the shoes, everything's exactly the same.
I wonder if they get like the Men in Black like Centos uniform service.
That's what I'm saying. If there's like a researcher out there, your key information is going to be finding that laundromat where they do their laundry.
Find that laundromat, and you'll find the Men in Black.
Yeah, that cleaner station.
Or maybe they're custom tailored.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I'm saying it's just a mental projection.
They just manifest.
We are in the Matrix. Yeah.
Like I manifest this beer into my mouth. By the way, I'm almost done with this Cannon Dragger India Pale Ale.
Hell.
So anyway, I think that's it. That's the Men in Black. That's all we had come up with. That's all that.
That's all we
There's
need to
no
come
use
up
in
with.
researching it. You'll not find anything else.
But you can't see
We
that.
found everything.
Yeah, we got it all. You can't see the video though here in the show description.
Oh yeah, check out our website, facebook.com/Q the A podcast, for all these links and videos and photo gallery that I just posted.
So,
now, let's see. You were mentioning something awesome about Weird Al Yankovic before the show, which by the way, to our listeners, I don't know if we've ever talked about Weird Al Yankovic. We're both big fans of Weird Al Yankovic.
Did you go to the Weird Al concert?
I did not.
Okay, because it was super expensive. I don't know.
Yeah, it was like, well, I mean, it was $60, which, yeah.
For Weird Al, I mean, relatively expensive.
I mean, I was borderline. I should have gone, really. I feel like I should have, but I didn't, and I didn't. So there you go. But there's plenty of videos of Weird Al concerts you can watch. And it was, he made plenty of money that night, so I'm fine,
And it sold out, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, my kids are like in love with the new Weird Al song. This is what I call polka or something like that. Now that's what it's called. Now that's what I call polka.
That's what I call polka.
Which is a take on the Now CDs, like the Now exclamation point. That's what I call music.
Okay.
Like compilation CDs. But it's a super cool song. My kids love it.
Yeah, they just takes like all the modern current pop songs and does like a real shortened version of them and puts them all together into one big polka jam.
It's like a mashup. It's
so funny because my wife, and not just my wife, many people can't stand the polkas. That's like to them the most annoying thing that they could possibly have in their head going constantly. But then other people find them like to be completely brilliant. And Weird Al has done one polka song per album since like the beginning. I don't know if he's ever missed one.
I remember when I was younger, I didn't really like the polka. I liked the polka, but I wanted to hear all the other popular songs.
Yeah,
more.
it was just kind of this weird polka music, right?
Yeah. But now, I genuinely love the polka songs.
Yeah, you get older and you kind of start to respect that brilliant polka. Because it's not a parody. He's doing the actual song lyrics, but in polka style.
Yeah.
So it's like the opposite of his normal satires, parodies, where he's doing the same exact music and sound, non-polka version, but with totally different lyrics that rhyme with the original lyrics, but they're hilarious.
What's great about the songs is they have all these sound effects in them, like fart noises and zingers and all this stuff.
Right in the right place.
Yeah, and they have like woman screams. And so me and my kids have coordinated all that. We know the song so well that we know each sound effect.
Yep.
And they have like guns, like they'll shoot a gun and we'll like act like we're shooting a gun.
Now I'm putting that on our
We'll have like a fart and we'll all like turn our butts like we're farting.
Putting that on Facebook page right now. That's what I call polka.
And you said that Weird Al had an entire CD that was polka.
Well, all the CD is a compilation of all the polkas.
Oh, okay.
I think it's called Polka Your Eyes Out, or it's called the Polka Album or something like that. Because he's got one that was awesome. It came out in like the late 90s. It was called the Angry White Boy Polka. And it was just all those like, angry white boy rock bands like Limp Bizkit and, whoever. Mm-hmm. But all done in polka style. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I remember that.
But yeah, I mean, I remember hearing I think he came out with an album in like 84 that I had with Eat It on there, maybe 85. It was called Weird Al in 3D, and it had a polka. And then, of course, the next album actually was called Polka Party, and that was a good album. It was a standard album, and it had one polka song. He just happened to call it Polka Party, and then they just kept coming out from year to year to year. Let's see, Dare to Be Stupid, I think, was back in the late 80s as well. And then you had the one you were talking about, where he did Michael Jackson's Fat.
Yeah.
And that album was called Even Worse, which is a really good album, by the way. And Weird Al actually has many songs that are not parodies, that are actually completely original songs, and some of those are just completely brilliant.
Yes.
He gets no credit or fame for any of those. So that's enough about Weird Al.
No, that's not enough about Weird Al.
He is a genius. I mean, his latest album, which is called
Mandatory Fun.
Mandatory Fun.
What's your favorite song on there?
Let me look at the song list. I mean, it's pretty good. I do like the Foil.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Foil. I mean, Word Crimes. I like Tacky. Those are, of course, all parodies.
I'm not a fan of Tacky. I like Word Crimes is my favorite one.
Word Crimes is brilliant.
Yeah.
He's got to have he's got to have some songs on there that are originals that are good too. Those are all parodies that I'm naming.
I do like First World Problems just because of the lyrics. I'm not a fan of the song itself, but what he talks about in the song is pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, some of those songs are kind of annoying, like bluesy rock songs that he does. But yeah, the lyrics are good. I really like the one called Mission Statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's doing like a play on like Emerson, Lake, and Palmer, but it's not a parody directly, and it's all corporate speak type sentences he's saying. Yeah. Sports song is funny.
Yeah, those are originals.
Lame Claim to Fame.
I like the words in that one too. Yeah, I think the music could have been better on that one.
Okay, so on his album called Even Worse, he's got a song called Melanie. That's one you got to listen to. I don't know if you remember it. There's also another one on that album that's just as good. Same album. It's called The Good Old Days, and that one's also brilliant. These songs are actually both very disturbing as well. So be prepared if you're going to listen to them.
There's a good VH1 documentary on Weird Al. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Like Behind the Music, we're on Weird Al.
I'm sure it's great.
Yeah, it's really good because it goes through all the people he's met, and then they had the controversy where he made a song and had to release it without profit.
Well, I mean, Coolio or was it Coolio got pissed off at him for doing the Amish Paradise?
Oh no, Coolio loved that one. I don't remember which one it was. Like it was like 50 Cent or something that didn't really want his song to be done by Weird Al. I have to look it up, but
I think it was Coolio.
You think it was Coolio?
Yeah, Amish Paradise.
Yeah, Amish Paradise is pretty awesome.
Pretty sure. Yeah, it was a great song, and Coolio got all pissed off.
I played that a million times, but someone he like did an entire song and then asked, and the I think it might have been Eminem or something. Even. Okay, could have been Eminem. It was recent.
Screw them.
Within the past 5 years, and they said no, and he had this song already done, and so he just released it, free on YouTube and download, and maybe it was downloaded MP3 or something like that. Download my MP3.
Yeah, screw those people. Okay, so what else is new this week? Dookie Royale?
Man, I don't know. What happened? Well, we had a really good interview last week. I suggest people check out, and it's getting a lot of listens and downloads on YouTube and on our podcast feed.
Yeah, it's definitely not beating Bigfoot, but it's people are liking it.
Bigfoot's been on the scene for a while, a couple months now.
Bigfoot's definitely had its time to get its following going on.
It's had time to coagulate some downloads.
See, I'm checking right now. Bigfoot's let me see here. Bigfoot's going up, I think, over 200, almost 270 downloads for Bigfoot. That's on the podcast feed. The YouTube channel's got quite a few.
I don't know if you've been following the news behind this ag-gag laws. Ag-gag is the agriculture industry lobbying Congress to pass laws against people filming animal cruelty in their facilities. So these are called ag-gag laws. And they're completely unconstitutional. But they passed them anyway, and then they let the people sort it out. And just recently, Idaho, I guess they passed it last year. People will deliberately get employed to work at these places, and they'll have hidden cameras on them, and they'll catch cruelty. People like beating pigs or, chickens that are in bad sanitary condition and all this stuff. So they'll catch those things and they'll post it on PETA or on the internet or YouTube or whatever, and it'll go viral. And these farms will get in lots of trouble, and meat consumption will go down or whatever. And so Idaho passed this law saying that people cannot deliberately be employed by someone if they're going to expose what goes on inside, which is completely crazy. So in the meantime, people were like flying drones over farms because that wasn't illegal. And there's a lot of drone footage that's come out recently in the past couple of months, trying to expose what happens at these CAFOs or confined feed operations.
CAFO.
Yeah. So just let's see. I posted a study. I guess it's on my personal Facebook page about Idaho's ag gag law was struck down as unconstitutional. So finally, the Idaho Supreme Court anyway has struck that down, and you can now film at any animal operation, at least in Idaho.
Huh.
So a lot of people aren't up on that. The news story that's been going on for maybe 3 or 4 years since the movie Food Inc. came out and exposed that, you know, a lot of the stuff that's going on within the food industry that's bad for us, as far as making laws, protecting the consumer, and there's some of the marketing tricks behind food.
Yeah, I like that mind control marketing.
Yeah. No, I think the first 30 minutes of the documentary is basically focused on the mind control aspect of the advertising of agricultural business. You know, because every carton of thing that you see at the store usually has like this farm picture and maybe like old style words on the front. You know, we were graphic designers at one point, Eon, and
Yes.
I understood that completely. I was just like, well, yeah, that's the kind of stuff I would put on a box if I wanted people to buy, let's say macaroni and cheese, and I wanted them to think it was wholesome. I would put like rolling hills with the sunshine in the background, or like a red barn and a cow happily being out in the field, you know, and people look at that image and they go, yeah, that's the farm, you know?
Oh yeah, I mean, you show them a picture and there it is.
Yeah.
Tell them a story and they just envision it and believe it.
Yeah, it registers with them as a Curious George farm scene. It just registers with them that like everything is glorious. Every farm that I've ever visited is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so glad that these people make this food for me every day. That's basically an instant registration that goes to their mind when they see a picture like that. So, but what Food Inc. says is, this is how it really is. You're being mind controlled, and what are you going to do about it? So, I really love.
What are you going to do?
And there's a number of films that have come out after Food Inc. because it was so popular. But I suggest people go watch Food Inc. It's on Netflix and Hulu and everything free. It's a pretty awesome documentary. Have you seen that yet there, Eon?
What's it called?
Food Inc.
Oh, yeah. I saw that a while ago.
Yeah,
I remember
seeing
it. Nice and disturbing.
Yeah, and it's gently disturbing. It's not like some of the. It doesn't show like, you know, these animal cruelty things.
No, yeah. It's not like it's not intentionally shocking. It's just the information. If you pay attention, it's like, oh crap, you know. It's just
day-to-day life shocking. Like, oh my god, I can't believe they're doing that to me.
Yeah, pretty much. Also, Fast Food Nation is very similar, fictional story, but same information, kind of. But that's all just for the food podcast episode. What else? We probably bored our listeners last week talking about eating animals, but some of them maybe like that. I don't know. Send us a comment. Tell us, did you like talking about eating animals? Did you not like it? What are your thoughts on eating animals?
Will you be judged in the afterlife for eating animals?
Or will you become an animal that will then be eaten? I'm trying to think. I was tied up with family stuff this weekend. I've been working. I've been watching stupid, mindless television. I've been researching the Men in Black. So, I mean, it hasn't even been a week since our last episode. So,
yeah, just been a few days.
Yeah. So we're trying to hit Monday nights, and now we're here Wednesday night. So, but no, it's actually been 6 days.
6 days. Yeah.
Anyway, I guess that's it, man. We don't sound like we have anything else to talk about.
Yeah, we're probably gonna wrap it up at this point. But
all right, guys.
Yeah, check out all the MIB stuff down below. Email us at qtheapodcast@gmail.com. Check us out on Twitter at qtheapodcast. And of course, our Facebook page.
Facebook.com/Q the A podcast. Oh, one last thing.
Go.
The Disc Golf World Championships is currently happening in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
And you had
through Saturday.
You had some big news about disc golf as a whole.
Oh, that's right. Disc golf has now been disc golf, as well as all disc sports, including ultimate frisbee, is now being accepted as a legitimate sport and will be put in the Olympics.
Woo!
So
it's a big day for you there, Ian.
Pretty exciting stuff for disc golf. The disc golf. I have a Facebook page called Facebook.com/World's Best Disc Golf Videos.
And they are.
Follow that. Myself, and other people post links on that page.
I go look at that every once in a while, and they are actually the best.
They are literally the best videos you'll ever find. The best players in the world.
Hole-in-one
skills. Yeah, hole-in-one videos. The best videos I can find. I scour them all. I watch the crappy ones, and I filter out the best just for you.
I think we're going to have a disc golf episode coming up where I can learn about disc golf. And
we are definitely going to have a disc golf episode. I reached out to a professional guy who'd be really good, and I haven't heard back from him, but he's currently playing in the World Championship, so I'll follow up and we'll try to do that.
We have to do that in the off season. We'll get to it.
You're right.
We'll get to it.
We will get to that, as well as the Juggalos episode. I've had a few requests for that, and I've been wanting to do that for a while, the Juggalo.
Right.
Insane Clown Posse Juggalo episode. So
now, you know what's
coming down the pipe.
You know what story just continues is the Cecil murderer.
Oh, because I'm already totally bored with that one.
Dentist guy.
That one's off my radar now.
Just keeps going.
Now I just ignore it. Now it's off my radar. So,
well, they've identified another person that's killed a famous lion.
I saw that. And then I also heard the whole thing's a hoax.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just a false flag?
I heard that's a hoax. I heard the whole Planned Parenthood story is a hoax. I heard it's pretty much a bunch of sets of hoaxes.
That's another thing. Yeah, that whole Planned Parenthood. They're voting to defund Planned Parenthood.
Right.
In Congress this week.
Yep. So there's an agenda. You got the Republican. The first debate is going to be up tomorrow night. I think 10 Republicans are going to be with. Guess who's in dead center?
Who's that?
Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So they're putting him in the spotlight. They're going to let him talk a lot. Of course, he'll completely just own the whole thing.
I had a discussion last night about if Donald Trump's going to make it to the end or not.
Well, he might make it to the end, but I've got a $100 bet on Jeb Bush, as I've announced before.
Right.
I don't know if I've announced that I now have a $100 bet on it.
Who did I go with?
Well, I didn't bet you. I don't know who you went with. I bet this guy on Facebook who says Hillary's going to be the president. And I said, "Oh, that's cute. I'll bet you $100 on that."
Yeah, it was me and you, and I was going with Bernie Sanders.
Oh yeah. Good luck with that.
I know.
Apparently now we got Joe Biden stepping in the mix.
It seems like all these people are just kind of laying back and letting Donald Trump drill himself into a hole.
Absolutely. Well, and he loves the attention, so we're all glad to watch him do his little dance. And
someone made a good point about global politics and like how the system does own everything. If you self-fund your presidential run, you're almost guaranteed not to make it. And as a matter of fact, you are guaranteed not to make it because nobody has ever self-funded themselves, even into the debates. Yeah. So Donald Trump's probably going to be the first one to self-fund himself into the debates. But once you get to a certain point, I think you'll see the banking industry, the oil, the gas, all these things, they're going to start getting together and saying, is this guy really the one we want to be the Republican nominee? Or do we want our old guy over here who's been our guy for 20 years that's running for the president?
Exactly. Go with the comfort.
Cooler. He's a little cooler, a little more level-headed, won't turn his back on us.
A little more conditioned.
Yeah, conditioned is the perfect word.
A little better puppet, maybe.
Yeah, Ross Perot self-funded himself for a while, and they shut him out after a little while.
Well, he was in the final election. He just they say that's why Clinton might have got elected if they are elected. Of course, you also got to wonder, has Donald Trump been to the Bohemian Grove?
Right. I'm certain he has.
He probably has been there, and if so, he probably knows who the next president will be. I mean, either way, he just loves the fame. He loves to talk on TV,
Yeah.
And sure enough, he's pulling that one off.
Some good interviews with Donald Trump when he was young, talking about running for president.
I know on Oprah, I saw one from 1988 floating around. Yeah,
Oprah.
Yeah, that was pretty good. And he said he doesn't want to, but he said he'll step up and do it if he has to.
Yeah,
and it was funny because he was talking about Japan and stuff, and it sounded just like the same as today. So
yeah, China. It's just China now.
Yeah, you're right.
But Japan, man, if you Japan's got the second largest economy in the world, basically because we used them as our electronics hub for a long time, and now it turns out that I work for Japanese companies all the time now. I do.
Yep.
You're doing computer work, and I'm doing, and I'm in IT related field, and it's just saturated with Japanese products. That's all it is.
Absolutely.
Maybe if you look at companies like HP and IBM, all of the hardware that goes with those products are all made in Japan or China.
That's right.
So it's globalism.
Did I mention that I changed my religion officially? Because
Um,
remember, I was practicing Passaquanianism after our Saint Ohm episode. I became a Passaquanianist, but now I've. Somebody asked me the other day, what was it? They were asking like something about God, and they were like, "Well, who's your God?" And I told them my first thought. I didn't tell them this, but my first thought was your mom. So I realized, oh, your mom. So that means like if my God is your mom, then my religion is like your momism.
well, your friend would have been Jesus.
So I'm like a Yermamist. I'm a your momism.
Do you hear me? Your friend would have been Jesus.
Jesus be my friend.
Yeah.
Asking me that.
If you said your mom was God, then he would be Jesus, who's the Son of God.
That's true. He would be the Son of God. So yeah, Jesus was asking me, or maybe it might have been a Mexican guy named Jesus. I think that's who it was. But anyway, it was your mom. So I am now officially a your momist. Your momism. I'm gonna create that and write a book. Take over the world with my powerful cult. So anyway, it's a good way. That's your momism is a good way to wrap it up. I think this week.
Yes.
For this this episode. So you guys have a good week.
Do you have any ideas? Any ideas for things that you'd want to listen to? Give us a shout.
Yeah, shoot us any episode ideas. Watch out for the Men in Black. They're coming to get you.
We're picking our own at this point.
That's right. And you guys have a great week. And you as well, Dookie Royale.
All right, Ian. See you later.
All right, see you, man.